You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities, Thursday, June 25th. Thank you guys for joining us wherever you are and however you are taking part in the show. We do greatly appreciate it. Nearly to the weekend, we have a show today. No show for us tomorrow. A little youth baseball taking over this weekend for the Randazzo family, so a little trip out of town. So no show tomorrow, but we have a ton to get to on today's show. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you for that. If you have subscribed, that's awesome. Thanks. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, like, comment, all of those things help us out a bunch. And also tell a friend or 2 or 10 about what we're doing each and every day here in the Quad Cities as well. We're also live on X as well. X has been very, very good to us. Stay interactive with the show. You can do that on the YouTube chat right now. Come chat with us, our everyday people that are there chatting every single day. And then, of course, you can ask our guests and myself any questions, comments, complaints that you have. So be interactive with the show. We love that. As a guy who grew up loving sports radio, and with everything that's gone on in the light of radio over the last 48 hours, please take advantage of being as interactive as possible. That's one thing I loved about sports radio, and so would love to have the interaction with you guys as you watch the show each and every day as well. We need to get phone lines. That's what I've always said when I started this thing. I need to figure out a way to get a phone line in here where we can take live calls for half the show if we wanted to, so you don't have to listen to myself all the time as well. We're also streaming right now on the WHO Plus streaming app. We love our viewers in Central Iowa, love the feedback we get from you guys. Nearly a year of doing the show on the WHO streaming app. We love that. You can check us out live right now. The first hour of the show is on the WHO streaming app. And then, of course, you can check out the second hour as well. If you're enjoying yourself, go to YouTube, go to X, and check out the rest of the show as well. We have a busy show to get to today. And also, you can check out the show on all the podcasting platforms as well. So whether it be Apple, Podbean, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, and you can listen to the show each and every day as well. A busy day, a busy time here in the Quad Cities, in the state of Iowa and Illinois, busy time in the world of sports, and we're going to talk all about it. We're going to start here in a matter of moments with our good friend Jake Brend from the Cyclone Fanatic. Jake has been MIA for a while. He's been enjoying some time off. I'm going to talk to him about the Cyclones in the NBA draft with Joshua Jefferson, Taman Lipsey signing with Indiana. We'll talk alcohol in Ames and the fact that you're going to be able to purchase alcohol at Jack Trice Stadium at the Hilton Coliseum coming up this season as well. We'll talk about the iHeart layoffs, and we're going to get to that here in a second, but a tough time for local media and local radio in both Des Moines and here in the Quad Cities over the last several days, and around the nation, it sounds like, as well. So we'll talk about that and why we kind of went to do what we're doing now, which is bringing you independently owned, if that makes any sense, content each and every day. So also coming up later on in hour number 1 of the show, we have another Rockridge standout on the move in college softball. Recently, it was Kendra Lewis making the move from Wisconsin to Oklahoma State. And now comes word that former OVC Player of the Year and Western Illinois standout Payton Brown making the move to Texas State following her head coach down to the Lone Star State. We'll have Payton Brown on the show. We'll talk about, reminisce a little bit as well about those Rockridge softball championships coming up in just a little bit later in hour number 1 of the show. In hour number 2 of the show, we'll head south and chat with our good friend Chris Duerr from the Quincy area from Money River Sport. We'll talk to him about the Illini draft. We missed it earlier this week, but the Valley Conference tournament for the women moving to St. Louis as well. And then I want to talk to him about, you guessed it, high school football. It's right around the corner. He's recently done some stories with Quincy football, so we'll get a little preview of that. And a familiar name in Quincy, back under center. Same name, different face, same family. We'll explain all that and then get his thoughts on the Western Big Six and the dilemma, if you will, with Alleman football not playing this upcoming season, JV only for the Pioneers. So a lot to get to on today's show when it comes to a busy Thursday here on OTA. I do want to start with the iHeart layoffs. They hit Des Moines a couple days ago. So many local radio talents laid off as big corporate entities kind of, affect what goes on in local media. And it happened here in the Quad Cities yesterday over iHeart laid off Mark Manuel, a guy that I've known for a long, long time, 35 plus years, I think he said, in that building at different stations and working his way up the management ladder as well. Found out that he no longer has a job. One of the most talented radio dudes you'll get to meet. Also over at WLLR, Luke and Howell, Danny Lynn Howell and Pat Luke no longer have jobs, and that's a very successful radio station. That's a cash cow, if you will, a number one ranked radio station, and so local people in this area, and we've seen what's happened to newspaper, and we've seen now radio kind of continuing to go down that road, and now you're stuck with no local entity when it comes to what you want to listen to, the people you get to know, and the Quad Cities is about that. So it really is a sad day for local media. We hate to see it, and we've talked a lot about it over the last nearly 2 years that we've done this show, year and a half for sure, getting closer to 2 years than it was 1 year. And that's one thing that we want to continue to do. You have entities like this show, you have View from the West, other entities that you can get your local news, sports, talk locally about everything that goes on here and in those stations. Technology allows us to do that, so we love that as well. So not a plug for what we do, but just a sad day for what goes on. I'll tell all of those talented people in Des Moines, in the Quad Cities, around the country as well, that you'll be fine. I know it doesn't feel like it now probably, and you have to put one chapter to bed, but there's a lot of great things around the corner, and other opportunities will pop up, and everything will be good on that end. But not cool. As I mentioned, and I'll mention it several times, I grew up listening to KJOC and local sports radio. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I loved to, like I would have loved to do that. Sit there for 4 hours a day and talk sports with people, and you get paid. And that's not an entity anymore, but venues like this are. So hopefully if you can support local media, whether it's newspapers, radio, shows like this, television, the Score, the Highlight Zone, entities like that need our support, please do that, because it's something needed in this community and in the communities around the country, and it's kind of going away, which is sad. We'll talk more about that with Jake Brend, another guy who stepped out of media to do something locally as well. So Jake Brend coming up in just a little bit as well, but we'll also reach out to Mark Manuel. We're going to have him on the show sometime next week as well. His daughter gets married this weekend too. So congratulations to him and his family. Focus on that great stuff. We'll kind of celebrate Mark Manuel and look ahead with him coming up next week on OTA. So looking forward to that conversation for sure. Other local news and sporting news I want to talk about before, maybe not local, some of it, but that I want to get to before we get to our guests. Fever game last night was crazy. Physical once again. Caitlin Clark getting beat up. And the Fever lose 111-109. And it brings big picture conversations when it comes to the WNBA and officiating. And I'm one of those people I'm not a Caitlin Clark apologist. There's sometimes that the way she conducts herself on the court isn't ideal. I'll say it nicely in that way. But oftentimes she's getting beat up, and you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, and the ability to get eyes on your sports that she's been able to do. It's crazy. They don't. Not only do they not protect her, protecting her is not what anybody wants to see, but almost abuse in a way what she is and what she does out on the court. So fascinating stuff in the WNBA. We'll keep chatting about that throughout today's show. Also some football news of note. For myself, when I'm a Lions fan, and then for the NFC North, Terrion Arnold, Lions cornerback, was slated to be a starting outside cornerback for the Lions, probably their number 2 cornerback, former first-round pick, arrested last night, charged with 4 counts of felony, could face life in prison. It's a crazy story, orchestrating a revenge plot, obviously innocent until proven guilty, and those type of things, but really, and not great timing if you're the Detroit Lions football-wise, because you're past the draft, you're past free agency, if you will, stuff that you didn't come out of the blue. This is stuff that you've kind of been seeing, and I think maybe the Lions hoped didn't come to fruition, but a hole in the defense for the Detroit Lions, and we'll see how they handle things. Several years back, Cam Sutton was a defensive back for the Lions and got charged with domestic battery or domestic something along those lines, and the Lions cut him right away. So it'll be interesting to see how Dan Campbell does certain things. People bring up the Green Bay Packers and Josh Jacobs and the trouble he got into and still in camp, was never charged with anything, so that's a big difference. But I don't know if I do know Dan Campbell and company won't put up with those kind of actions in Detroit. So, but again, everyone innocent until proven guilty. Just some news and notes as we get ready for football season, which is right around the corner. That is for sure. So a lot to get to on today's show. And we start with a guy we haven't seen here on OTA in a couple weeks. And that is our good friend, Jake Brend. So back after a long hiatus from Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Yes, everyone, this is Jake Brend.
Lots
no
changed.
hat, no hair. This is a new look.
Yeah, clean it all off. Why not?
How's it going? The new look.
I
Rave
like
reviews?
it. Yeah, nothing but.
I
As
don't know how
usual,
to
I
take
guess.
that. Do people just randomly come up to you on the street and they're like, "That looks great"?
No, I just more so people I'd know.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I
Like,
I
yeah,
think,
I like it.
I think
They're probably lying.
I'm trying to figure out. Do you look tougher?
Probably.
There's probably a better way to put that. Not
That might be the
as-
steroids talking.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different conversation. But no, it's a good look. It is,
I appreciate it, Dazzo.
especially during the summertime. Now, dumb question. Like, let's say you went fishing, right? Recently, you golf all the time. You live the good life. I'm here busting my butt off 5 days a week, but you're just doing whatever.
I know.
Is
It's
it
great.
obviously sun? Like, got to protect sunscreen up there.
Yeah. Normal sunscreen. I've always kind of, I don't really get, I hope my dermatologist isn't listening. I don't really get burnt on my arms and legs, so I typically
You have a
don't
dermatologist?
I go once a year.
Okay, good for you.
Just routine checkups and whatever. But yeah, I'll throw sunscreen. I've always thrown sunscreen on my face because my face, for some reason, is pretty vulnerable. So yeah, sunscreen everywhere.
Weird
Yeah.
story. We don't, and nobody. I don't burn. Like I don't.
See,
I don't ever.
I typically don't either unless it's like a lake day, and
Yeah.
then I burn.
Yeah, I remember on our honeymoon, we got to Punta Cana, and I said to my wife, I don't need sunscreen. I'm like, and she's like, well, you're a lot closer to the. I'm like, no, I'm Italian. I don't burn. I bronze is what I always tell my boys. I don't burn. I bronze. And we were outside for an hour and a half. I came in. I looked like a lobster. I was like, okay, that's a different sun. Like the sun down in Punta
learn.
Cana is a little different than up here. So, all right, enough about like the way you look and the way I look. Before we talk about Cyclones, and we got the draft to talk about alcohol flowing in Ames for sporting events. I love that. A couple things I want to talk to you about. You guys two days ago in the Des Moines area got the awful news of the iHeart layoffs here in the Quad Cities. They hit yesterday. And it's great people, WLLR, Mark Manuel, so many great people that are fixtures in local media and local radio now don't have jobs. It's a big picture thing, and that's one thing you can talk to. There's a personal side of it when you know these people and you love what they do. And then there's the big picture side of it that like local media, I think needs support now more than ever. And it's needed, in my opinion. I feel like local media is super important, and I don't know if the big boy media understands that. Your thoughts on what's happened the last couple of days?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. And that's to say that it shouldn't have happened. But the way, as you know, that these media conglomerates work is they don't know who Sean Roberts is. They don't know who Heather Burnside is. To them, those people that have grown a massive following in their markets, in their cities, and have worked their butts off for decades to get to that point, to them, that's just a number on a spreadsheet. And essentially, iHeartMedia, who is based out of Dallas, I believe, or Houston, somewhere down in Texas, they know that by laying off every single on-air personality in Des Moines, and I'm using Des Moines as an example, it's almost identical everywhere else. They know that by shedding all of that talent, that the ratings will go down. But they're okay with that because by shedding that talent, then they're also shedding those salaries. So now instead of paying 8 full-time salaries in Des Moines or whatever the number was, they will be paying probably some fee to Dan Patrick and Colin Cowherd to air their show. And the ratings won't be as good, but their margins will be about, I mean, probably better. And unfortunately, that's all they care about, which is showing a dollar sign to the stockholder, to the shareholder, and it's a bad day for local radio, and it doesn't benefit anybody other than the people who are probably sitting in Punta Cana right now, but not on their honeymoon. They're there on just another weekend trip,
vacation.
I'm sure.
Their third vacation of the summer so far. And that's you look at it, obviously, people in the Quad Cities don't know Jake was in local TV at WI in Des Moines, and of course I did this little thing at WQAD, and I'm not bashing those stations or that. I mean, no big, but people look at us and they're like, oh, you guys, I have people yesterday say to me all the time, like, wow, you must have seen the future. And I'm like, well, no, it's radio compared to TV. But I would say in big picture, support local people trying to do local things everywhere. When it comes to, we have here the View from the West podcast and several other podcasts and local entities that try to independently cover sports in the Quad Cities or in the two-state area or in Iowa and Illinois and the things. And same with yourselves and Cyclone Fanatic. Like, it's really important to support those type of entities because they're needed, and the ones we're used to that we grew up with aren't there as much as they used to be. We aren't geniuses, but we would love people to support what we do because that's unfortunately the way things are going when it comes to media in general.
Yeah, and the way that you look at it with a Cyclone Fanatic, and Cyclone Fanatic's a little bit different because it has been running for 20 years. So
Iowa Everywhere is a great example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Iowa Everywhere. You look at a place like that, the way that Iowa Everywhere operates is kind of how radio operated when it started. It's not a perfect one-to-one example. Like, Iowa Everywhere isn't on all day. It's on demand. So it's met the consumer, it's met the viewer where they are, and it's the Instant Iowa. It's the Cyclone Sunday right after the game. The difference is that it's how it's backed. Being locally owned is the most important part that any media entity can have right now. And you talk about, oh, did I see the future or not? Like, I did. Why do you think I got out of local TV? It wasn't because of the work that I was doing. I enjoyed the work I was doing. It wasn't because the people I was with. It was because, well, at any given moment, Tegna could just say, there's no way it's worth paying 2 salaries to cover local sports in Des Moines. So we're going to axe it. And next thing you know, I'd be out of a job. That's how it works at all media corporations. And it's unfortunate. I hate that it happened. And the good news is for all of the very talented people that did get cut, talented people find their way into good spots because they're talented. And I know that most, if not all, people that were affected by those iHeart layoffs will find a way to land on their feet, but it's just unfortunate that it has to come to this.
Yeah, last one on that. I do think that, and you mentioned Tagnet Nexstar. This is on WHO right now, and I think that there's a reason. There's a reason why this goofy show is on WHO streaming app right now because that's where things are going, and I think people and big companies realize that as well. I'll say this too is I loved sports radio. I grew up wanting to do it. Like that was, I remember cutting grass going like, I listened to Dan Burrich and K-Jock here in the Quad Cities going like, so they pay this dude to sit for 4 hours and talk sports with people. Like, how do I get this job in my life? And now you don't need to go into a station, unfortunately, if you want to do these types of things. I know that some other people that have been laid off over the last year has called me and said like, hey, like, how have you done this? I mean, I don't know technology. If you knew me before doing all this, I probably asked Jake Brend, who was young in the business at a Iowa game, how to work something or help me with something because I didn't know what I was doing. But you don't like, again, where are you at right now in your fancy studio? No, you're your house. Yeah, you have it doctored up a little bit, but like this isn't, you didn't have to travel to some place. Back in the day, you had to, hey, if I want to be on K-Jock, I had to make the drive to that studio and do it. I don't have to do that anymore because I have the ability to, and not just me, we all have the ability to do this where we're at. So I think that's the plus of things moving on. As you mentioned, those great people in Des Moines, those great people in the Quad Cities, they will be, I know it's hard now, I get it, but they know it too. They'll be completely fine. And after you get done looking at the past and celebrating the past, you'll get to look forward to the future and some of the exciting things you can do. So Jake Brend joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Jake, the Iowa State Cyclones had a first-round draft pick a couple nights ago, Joshua Jefferson. Didn't know if he'd go first round, didn't know if he'd go early second. What got him into the first round, and what was it like for you to hear his name being mentioned and selected in the NBA draft? Because I know it's a guy that did a lot of things for the Cyclone program over the last several years.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was up on a fishing trip in Minnesota during the draft, and I was obviously very in tune. Hot take, I like the NBA draft more than the NFL draft. I don't need to expand. But so I was engaged, and of course with Jefferson, knowing that there was a very good chance that he'd go in the late first round on Tuesday night. If not, he would absolutely go on Wednesday at some point. I was very locked into the back half of the draft. And my stepdad asked me, like, is Jefferson there? I don't think so. He wasn't invited to the green room. And then he gets his name called and stands up from the stands, which is really cool because he took a bet on himself. He knew he was going to get drafted. It was a bit of a gamble going for Tuesday night because there was a chance that he didn't get to hear his name called, but he's very worthy of being a first round pick. I really do think if he didn't suffer that devastating injury in the NCAA tournament, he might have gone a little higher. He was just really limited in the combine and team workout process. But I don't mind the landing spot for him. When I was going into the draft, I said on a show, there are 3 potential fits for Jefferson. There's good team with a needed role. That would have been option A. Absolutely. Like if he would have landed in New York where they're going to have to replace Mitchell Robinson, or San Antonio where they need size, teams like that, option A. Option B for me was just bad team, lots of minutes. And that's what he's getting on the Nets. He's going to get to play a lot. He's going to get to produce a lot. I think that's better than landing on a good team that doesn't need him. When you're a first-round pick, especially at the end of the first round, you just want to play. And Jefferson is going to get on the floor. That's a team that's in need of structure, and Jefferson brings structure from maybe the most structured program in the country at Iowa State. He's a floor raiser that does everything well. He's going to be tough. He's going to defend. He's going to pass. He's going to be selfless. And that's what's kind of needed on a team like the Nets that are going to have maybe 2 of the worst ball hogs in the entire NBA, and Michael Porter Jr. and Julius Randle. I say that with love. MPJ brought my Denver Nuggets a ring right above.
There you go.
Right above my shoulder. So I say that with love, but they need structure, and it's a young team. It's a bad team. And who knows, maybe Jefferson can be one of those players that helps change the culture early on. And even if not, hopefully he can go put up some good points and get traded to a contender here in the next 5 years.
You mentioned it, Jake. A good example for me is Chasen Randall, who is a graduate here from Rock Island, played at Stanford. And I remember when he didn't get drafted, talking to him on the phone, he's like, I got a couple options. I'm really excited about Golden State. And this is like Golden State. And I'm like, I was thinking like, Chasen, don't you want to go to like Brooklyn or like someplace where you can, get an advantage and take some time, play some minutes. And I think that's what Joshua Jefferson's going to get. By the way, speaking of Chasen Randall, hoping to have him on the show today. He'll be on next week, early next week as well. Something came up scheduling wise. So, but yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for Joshua Jefferson to show what he can do at the big level and do it on a team that's not very good. Tamin Lipsey, didn't hear his name called, but boy, he's a guy that I think goes to a camp, impresses, figures out a two-way. I kind of wanted to see him in Minnesota maybe, where it could be like a two-way.
It was a real possibility. That's
what I was thinking that was something that might happen. What happened there, obviously Indiana's a great fit. That kid just wins everywhere he goes. I think he's going to impress a lot of people once he gets to a camp in Summer League as well. Your thoughts on Tamin Lipsey and landing in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I plan on talking to him at some point over the weekend in depth. I talked to him a little bit last night, just confirming some stuff, but I didn't want to. It's a special night for him as he fulfills his dream, so I didn't want to bug him too much.
Yeah.
Because he absolutely would have had choices. And what I always tell people, with especially the end of the second round, We saw it last night confirmed with Henry Vasar, the center coming out of North Carolina. I'm blanking where he ended up, but I wanted the Nuggets to take him at 35, and he's still on the board at 53. It's like, what is going on? It comes out later that he had a verbal agreement, like, hey, I only want this team to draft me, and they're going to draft me. So even if a guy like Taman, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but it does happen at some point, Taman could have already had that deal in place at pick 50 and told picks 51 through 60, hey, no need to sign me. I'm going to Indiana. And it would make sense to me because I think Indiana is a good fit. Maybe not from a roster standpoint right away. I had a couple people ask me, like, how's it a good fit when, of course, they've got Halliburton, and then they just drafted Braden Smith, a very similar player coming out of Purdue. And my argument and take would be, I've always wanted Lipsy to end up in a smart organization. I always thought that, okay, if he ends up in an Indiana or an Oklahoma City or San Antonio, I'll feel really good about his chances carving out a role in the league. And it might not be on the team that he signs with, but I'd feel a lot better about it than if he was signing with Sacramento or Washington or teams like that. And this is an organization that, of course, is very familiar with him. Tyrese Halliburton absolutely, if not played a hand in this, gave some intel to general manager Chad Buchanan, who, by the way, is from West Des Moines, went to my alma mater, Simpson College, and has hired plenty of Iowans over the years, including former head coach Nate Bjorkgren from Northwest Iowa. So Buchanan has his pulse on the state as well, and he's aware the type of player and winner Taman Lipsy is. And in Lipsy's pre-draft interview, we talked to him after a workout with the Golden State Warriors. He was asked, what are two players that you'd kind of like to be like in the NBA? And one name he said was Jamal Shed, kind of Taman Lipsy before Taman Lipsy at Houston, and he played a crucial role in the NBA playoffs this year. And the other name, TJ McConnell, longtime backup point guard for the Indiana Pacers. And he is not the biggest guy, and he finds ways to make plays on offense and defense. He's kind of the heart and soul of the Pacers, which sounds a lot like Taman Lipsy. And the thing about small point guards, they don't last forever. So McConnell's end as a serviceable NBA backup might be coming to an end here in the next year or two. And Lipsy absolutely will have the opportunity to beat out Braden Smith, as he already did at Mackey Arena this past year.
Nice how you slide that in very nicely at the end. That's well done.
Killian Torrey helped a lot with that one too.
Jake Brend joining us right now on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. A couple more before I let you get on your way for the day. I was thinking about you on Monday, which sounds really creepy, but when the Dusty May stuff goes down, because like you're a college basketball nerd. Like, and I know Iowa State and then the Big 12, but just college basketball in general, you love it. Your thoughts when that happened, just the entire situation, and then what does it mean to the Big Ten? Because they finally won a national championship this year, and it was because of Michigan, and Dusty May has a big role in that. Yes, I know a lot of Iowa fans and Illinois fans are happy because it'll help with some recruiting. It'll help maybe on the floor next year. But big picture wise, it's tough for the Big Ten because that was your national champion. Your thoughts on Dusty May leaving to go to the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, I don't think it's any sort of hindrance on the Big Ten or anything like that. Michigan is still going to be a national brand. And to me, this says way more about the sport as a whole than it does about any specific conference. And Dusty May's someone who mastered the modern era. He mastered the brokenness of college basketball, where players can get unlimited money, play an unlimited amount of time in college, and transfer whenever they want. And he found a way to not only win a national championship at Michigan, which you say that in a vacuum, like, okay, yeah, winning a national championship is hard. He did it taking over a team that had hit rock bottom with Juwan Howard. He did it in year two, and he also was able to put together a roster that I'm sure most very smart college basketball people thought was great, but it wasn't exactly catching headlines when he put it together last year. And he didn't go and get 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the portal. He found pieces that fit and did it. It's just like what he did at FAU, where he made a Final Four. And not only did he keep the players, what I was going to say is the most impressive part of him making the Final Four at FAU wasn't making the Final Four at FAU. It was keeping every single player afterwards.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. So he had mastered this era, and he was sick of it. And he was ready to get on to the NBA. I think he's a brilliant coach. If I had to place a crisp $100 bill on what I think is going to happen, I think Dusty May is the next Brad Stevens. He might not be the greatest NBA coach of all time. I think he'll be really good, and I could absolutely see him feeding into a front office role and being an NBA GM for a long time. That would be my crystal ball, not knowing Dusty or not really knowing any people around him. That's what I see this as, and he's kind of attaching himself to a really young, great prospect in Cooper Flagg.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, alcohol in Ames, and it came out earlier this week. Now Iowa fans will joke that Iowa State football fans might need alcohol to get through the season. That's the thing I've heard over and over and over again. But jokes aside, it's about time, and I love that it's a story. The story is, why hasn't it happened sooner, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different answers to that. I don't think it's a coincidence that the beer will come the first year with a new president. I'll leave it at that.
Sure.
There's also clear needs for extra revenue in today's college athletics. And why would you leave between $2 and $4 million on the table when it's sitting there? I'd pick it up if I were there. I also think at some point it's okay to not be different. Texas Christian is selling alcohol. Did I say that right? Texas Christian, yes. TCU sells alcohol. It's okay. I personally think it's probably safer to sell alcohol, because instead of, which I don't know what sick bastard would ever do this, but just chugging beer and taking prayer fire shooters before you walk into the stadium is a lot more dangerous than, okay, I'll be able to go in and have a couple beers while I sit there. That's just me. It makes sense all around, and people also have been asking for it for a decade. It makes sense. It's time, and I'm glad that it'll finally mostly stop being a story. We'll see how the lines and stuff go. Yeah. I'm sure it won't be the last time I talk about it, but it was a no-brainer move, and I'm glad they made it.
I listen. By the way, really nice random analogy or example there. I know that was just out of the blue. Strange. Just thinking off the top of your head.
I'm a wizard at thinking of stuff like that.
Yeah. But I saw people like Cyclone fans worried about that, didn't like it, and I don't think there was a lot worried about like the bathroom lines. Like, this is the first time that a massive amount of people have gotten together with alcohol in attendance as well. Like, I mean, it happens it's not like you have to fix a world problem. It's just serving beer where people are congregate to watch sports. It happens everywhere in America, and it'll continue. It'll start, I should say, for the first time in Ames this year as well. And enjoy your busy Thursday. What's on the docket for? I know that one more vacation before things get crazy with football.
Yeah, so I will. I'm going to sound like an iHeart executive. I'm going to fly straight from Big 12 Media Days down to the Virgin Islands for a vacation. So I'll kind of kick off football season, take a step back, and then once I'm back from the very, very hot weather, it's all in. It's all football season. I'm already feeling it. So the coldest it got in Minnesota this past week was 68. So I woke up every morning, every night, sweatshirt, jeans. I was feeling it. I was in football mode. I could have run out of the tunnel right then, and we've still got a couple months. And I'm not going to wish away the summer, but I'm getting pretty excited for Big 12 Media Days, which is a week and a half away. I'll be leaving for Dallas on July 5th or 6th, one of the two. So it's coming up.
So all these great people and talented people in the Quad Cities in Des Moines are here without a job today. You're going to go to the Virgin Islands? Is that just to make sure that didn't probably match up the best the way you wanted to do. But hey, life's good for Jake Brend. Like, that's bottom line. Life's good for Jake Brend, right?
Yeah, I'm not paying for it. I'm very fortunate to have. I've got 2 blended families, so I get a vacation with the mom and stepdad, and then this will be time for vacation with the dad and stepmom. So it's kind of like 2 Christmases.
I love it. Take advantage of my friend. Always appreciate you. We'll catch up soon. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Dazzo.
All right. That is Jake Brend from Cyclone Fanatic, Iowa Everywhere, joining us. Wanted to talk to him about the iHeart stuff because it hit here in the Quad Cities yesterday. It affected Des Moines the day before that as well, but also great stuff with the draft as well. We got a lot more to get to. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk a little college softball because Payton Brown, our Rockridge standout, is on her way to Texas State, the second Rockridge standout to make a move in the transfer portal. We'll talk to her and much more right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We'll be right back. For over 65 years, Linquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Linquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning, or electrical, or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
This summer, light the fuse on something bigger than fireworks. It's red, white, and you at the John Deere Classic. July 1st through 5th with world-class golf and 4th of July energy you can feel. Wednesday is Youth Day and kids 15 and under get in free with a paid adult. After golf, concerts on the course rocks the weekend. Carrie Underwood, headlines and All-American 4th of July celebration. And Old Dominion closes out Sunday. Stars, stripes, summer tradition. Get tickets now before they're gone at johndeereclassic.com.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. It's a busy time when it comes to college sports and softball. A couple weeks ago, we talked to, in fact, last week, I think it was, we talked to former Rockridge standout Kendra Lewis. She's on the move from Wisconsin to Oklahoma State. She's not the only former Rocket making a move in college softball. Just yesterday or a few days ago, one of the two, Payton Brown, former standout at Western Illinois, announced that she is transferring to Texas State. And joining us now to talk all about that and catch up is Payton Brown. Thank you, young lady, for joining me bright and early on a Thursday. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Anytime.
I love it. Well, obviously, we'll start with the news. You were making the move from Western Illinois down to Texas State. Just kind of talk about that decision, the process, and what led you to head down to Texas State.
Yeah, I actually got a call on my best friend's wedding day that my head coach from Western would be leaving, that she got a job offer that she couldn't turn down, and completely understood, completely supported her in doing that because, you know, she did everything she could for us, but that she just needed a new path. And getting the opportunity for her to go to Texas State, when I entered the portal, just knowing that, you know, my head coach is gone, my coaching staff is gone, I didn't really know exactly what to expect. I didn't know kind of going into it what I would get, what would happen, but they were one of my first reach outs and my first visit. And when I got down to campus, it was a pretty easy decision. Their facilities are amazing. Their campus is absolutely gorgeous. Both my parents lived in Texas, so they were super excited, super stoked for me to go back down there and kind of be around the area that they lived in before. And so I just kind of went, having that comfortability of my head coach from the past 2 years, the one that kind of helped me regain my love for softball, regain my confidence and everything else. You know, I just didn't feel like I could do my senior year without her.
You mentioned regaining your love for softball. I want to talk a little bit about that. You were on the show last year around this time, and you mentioned that like you were happy in playing softball again. Obviously, transferring, I believe, from Illinois State to Western Illinois, and the passion was there, the fun was there, the smile was back. And I mentioned, I said, would you ever transfer again? And you're like, no, unless something happened with coach. Kind of talk about that, because this isn't just a coach that was a really good coach on the field and brought success and those kind of things. You guys had a close relationship off the field as well. This was a lot more than just a coach that's really good at the game. This was something that meant a lot more than that, wasn't it?
Yes. So Goler was actually recruiting me out of high school, and things kind of fell through. It didn't work out, and I did end up going to Illinois State for my freshman year and kind of entering the portal. I felt the same way, even more so because I had less stats. I didn't have really anything to back me up. And, getting the reach out from her and, wanting her to take that chance on me and realizing that, okay, somebody believes in me, somebody has faith in me. And, I can stay at this Division I level and play a high level competition and high level softball and still have success. Even if it was a smaller school, everything else like that. And just knowing that, somebody wants to take that shot on me again. And she did that. And with her help and the help of my teammates the past 2 years, I've had the greatest group of teammates the past 2 years. And I just remember getting on campus and having people be like, oh, we're so excited you're here. We're so happy you're here. And it felt so genuine. And knowing that, my teammates had my back from day one. Like I hit a home run in our scrimmage first day out, the first time we had ever touched a softball field. And I hadn't honestly hit and off of live pitching in probably 4 months. And it was one of those feelings that I came across home plate and they were all jumping and screaming and excited. And I didn't even know what to do. Like, it was like, holy crap, they're so happy for me, and this is just like a scrimmage. Like, this is just fun. Like, this is just us getting to know each other. But yeah, Goler was a huge part of that. And having somebody who, would stick their arm up for me. Hey, you okay? Or I can tell something's up. Are you sure you're okay? Like, do you need a day? Do you need a minute? Like, what do you need? And was always there for me no matter what. And like I said, helped me regain that, love for softball, that love and that want to play, and just that fire passion that I had in high school that I kind of had felt like I had lost the year before. And, having a coach who believes in you and loves you as a person over a player is something that I would recommend for everybody. I think getting to know your coach on that personal level and getting that connection really makes a difference. And yeah, so when she did decide to leave, I had told her before, in my exit meeting, I was like, hey, if you do end up leaving, can you please just let me know? Like, I don't really want to go without you. If that's the case, like, we split our separate ways and we both go separate ways. But at the same time, I knew, if she left, the possibility of me going with was always there. And, this opportunity was one that I just couldn't pass up.
You've been in the transfer portal twice, the portal, they call it.
Yes.
What was it? Was there a big difference first time around, second time around? I think the first thing that pops out for me is maybe it's different because, I don't know, and maybe putting words in your mouth, but probably the first time around, you weren't sure if you wanted to play softball anymore or where, even if what it would look like. This is probably a little different. There are probably other suitors that came calling for your services, a former OVC player of the year. What was this trip in the portal like?
So like I said, the first year I didn't have very many stats to back me up. I had I think it was 2 hits and a couple RBIs. Like, I just didn't have a ton back there to back me up. I didn't have the stats. So going in, not only did I kind of question, do I even really want to play softball anymore? But it was, okay, who's going to want me? Who's going to want to pick me up? Who's going to want to take a chance on somebody who only has 2 hits? But this time, coming back after having 2 great seasons and having the success that Western did this past year, making a monumentous stride of making the conference tournament for the first time since they joined the OVC. I made the joke on that first day because I got more phone calls then than I did probably the entire time I was recruited in high school. And I made the joke with my dad, this feels like the September 1st that I never had in high school. Yeah. This feels like the actual, this is what it should have been. This is what everybody talked about it being in high school, and, getting that opportunity and having, other people and realizing, I do have options if I decide, if Texas State was not the fit for me, I would have somewhere else to go and I would have another place to try and go play at. But yeah, it was insane. Just, the people that reached out, the coaches that reached out, the different ways that they reached out on Twitter, on Instagram, text message, phone calls, everything else. And the unexpected, not knowing, who's going to call and when they're going to call. So you have your ringer on all day. And it was like, do I even go to the gym? Like, what if somebody calls me while I'm at the gym and I just have to run out real fast? Like, just stuff like that. You just don't even think about until it happens. And like I said, I didn't find out until Saturday before the portal opened that my coach was leaving. So my decision to enter the name in the portal literally happened on Sunday night. I entered in and was not really expecting anything. I just didn't decide really to post anything because I was like, whatever happens, happens. Whoever reaches out. And I got tagged in a post that night, that I was leaving. And I was like, okay, well, somebody knows. So, and it got liked by a bunch of different people. I got a bunch of follows on Twitter and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, you never know who's going to reach out. But
when it comes to that, did it make probably a clear-cut decision of, hey, my coach is leaving, this is a good opportunity? Did it make things difficult? Were there opportunities that you're like, wow, I didn't expect this school would call or that school would call? Did it make it, obviously it's flattering, but did it make the decision a little more difficult, or did it help clear it up even more?
I would say a little bit of both. I think, getting the opportunity to play anywhere is a blessing, especially at a Division I program, especially when they're giving you money, especially when they're giving you whatever backing you need. Any of that is a blessing. All of that is God sent. But, having multiple schools reach out that I was in love with, I had 3 or 4 schools that I was like, wow, it would be amazing to go play there. It would be so awesome. And, it made it really difficult for me because there was a couple times that I got a phone call from, other schools, and I was like, I have other opportunities. I have to take over this. And I felt horrible doing that as well. But at the same time, you don't want to lead somebody on. You don't want to sit there and be like, oh yeah, I want to come. And then you don't. So kind of having to make that decision, as well as, who do I want to stick with? Who do I want in my top 3, and who do I, need to let go so they can go recruit on? But yeah, having that, my coach there and everything. And one part of it made it really easy because it was like, oh, I don't know if I can leave. But the whole coaching staff at Texas State really sold me. It wasn't just Goller. It was, Coach Woodard, Coach Scott, Coach PJ, everybody just completely sold me, and it made it a ton easier when I got down there. But yeah, I would say it made it difficult because at the same time, if I wouldn't have committed there, I know it would have not upset her, but it would have been one of those things that it was kind of disappointing, kind of sad, and kind of would have had to break off. But that wasn't the case, and it ended up happening, and it did make going the 16 hours a little bit easier. It didn't make the travel seem as far. It didn't make Texas feel as far. I have somebody to finish out my senior year with that I can be comfortable with, and I don't have to enter into a whole new program with whole new coaches and whole new staff. I have somebody that I can rely on no matter what.
Absolutely. Payton Brown joining us right now and Off Day with Matt Randazzo, transferring from Western Illinois to Texas State. I had somebody say to me, one of my kids probably, like, where Texas State, like, is that? And I'm like, it's a Pac-12. They're going to the Pac-12 and a newly formed Pac-12. Kind of tell us a little bit about Texas State. Obviously, you mentioned it's maybe closer to home for mom and dad that they originally came from, but what is it about this program? And besides, Coach, a Pac-12 conference, a lot of success at the school. What is it about Texas Tech softball that was appealing to you?
This being my last year without knowing kind of the rules and stipulations of that 5-5, this would be my senior year, and having that opportunity, I did make it to the conference tournament last year, but I don't want to just enter the conference tournament. I want to end my season, at a regional and beyond. I want a chance to play for that Women's College World Series, and knowing that, Texas State has had a historically amazing program, and the last 2 years they've won their conference tournament and made it into the regional, and won their regional game this year. That possibility to play for that and get through a regional and, try to extend as far as you can and get this longest season that you can. And, the Pac-12 isn't exactly what it used to be, but it's a great conference, and it's awesome. Definitely a step up from the OVC, just competition-wise and travel-wise, and the teams that you're playing, and getting the chance to, go play there and play on that West Coast and go play at these amazing schools that I've never played at before, and knowing the competition that Coach Woodard likes to bring in and likes to play against. She's the real deal. She likes to play Texas A&M. Your midweeks are Texas A&M, like stuff like that. You don't get the opportunity to do that all the time. So getting to play against these national contending teams and national championship teams and have a chance to beat them. State beat Texas Tech last year, who was I think they were number 1 at the time, and just, getting to play for a program that is historically great and has these huge wins and has this history of having these All-Americans come out of their program, and the chance to go play for a regional definitely kind of impacted my decision, as well as, like I said, Texas is beautiful. San Marcos is beautiful. I mean, they have a river flowing through campus that students just float on a daily basis. Like, you can't do that here in Illinois. They made the joke that they start wearing coats at 70 degrees. Like, I don't know how many games I even played at in my college career that were 70 degrees. Like, it's just insane. Just the environment, the culture of everything down there, that Southern hospitality. There's a lot of things that played into my decision to commit there.
I love it. I joked with Kendra because she goes from Wisconsin, which is a 2.5 hour drive, to Oklahoma State, which is a little longer of a drive. I'm going to ask you because I know family is close. They love watching you play, those kind of things. Macomb's a pretty easy trip for Rockridge people. To 16 hours. Did mom and dad say anything like, hey, we're going to move to Texas, or how are we going to watch you play, or what's the game plan for mom and dad moving forward? Because it's probably going to be a little more difficult on them.
Yes. So going from the, hour 15 down to Macomb to 16 and a half is definitely a huge change. But my mom is a remote worker. She's fully remote. So she has the opportunity to kind of go down with me. And it's amazing, knowing that I do have somebody there that if something goes wrong, if a car breaks down, I don't have to just call my coaching staff. I have somebody there to be there with me and to help me out, and kind of eliminate that little bit of homesickness as well. Yeah. My dad has already started to plan when he's coming down. I mean, he's like, I'm ready to come down for Christmas. I'm ready to come down for season. But, being in the Pac-12, your conference is, like I said, all over the West Coast. So it was one of those things that it was like, okay, living in San Marcos isn't even that much of an advantage because we're traveling every weekend. Yeah. So also knowing that, my parents aren't superheroes as much as I love them, and I claim that they are, they can't make everything. And I know that's been a little bit disappointing for them, but, the opportunity, they're so happy for me. They're so excited. And, it is sad that they're going to have to miss a couple more games than they've missed. Like, I think in my collegiate career, especially at Western, it was a little bit different at Illinois State, but I think I could probably count on one hand the amount of games that they missed. And I know it'll be a little bit more than that, but I know that they'll be supporting me and watching me no matter what. So just knowing that I have their support, and as well as like my grandparents and my other family members, they've made it very, very clear that they're there to support me and they're there to watch no matter how far I went. And they just wanted me to find the perfect place for me. And I think they're very happy about that.
Yeah, if I was them, I'd be looking at the schedule and planning vacations. Like, oh, they're going to be here on the West Coast, they're on the West Coast. That might be a nice weekend. We can go out there and do that. So, no, absolutely. Payton Brown joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You mentioned this decision. It's done. It's out of the way. It's probably a sigh of relief, excitement. And now the fact that they're not going to be as easily accessible to see. What's the rest of the summer look like? Obviously, maybe a little more family time and hanging with them a little more before you leave. But obviously, you're going to hit here later today. You're going to keep working on your craft. What does the off season look like now that you have pretty big decision out of the way?
Yeah, definitely staying in shape is always the number one, with a new lifting coach. I'm still waiting to get my lifting packet, but lifting based on kind of like his creation and learning his style of lifting. But trying to stay in shape until I get that packet, and then kind of rolling with him as well. And then, like you said, working on the craft, working on hitting, going in as hitting, working on glove work, even messing around with like hand work, hand skills, trying to do that. And I mean, like I said, most of all, just trying to stay in shape. It's very easy to kind of just lounge and not want to do anything and take a couple days off. But I think as much as you needed the rest, I kind of took the first couple weeks off, to rest my body, give my body that chance to heal. Like I said, my best friend got married. I was the maid of honor. So kind of use that time to dedicate to her and be there for her. Because at that time I didn't know that I was entering the portal. But just kind of get that chance to relax that you don't really get in season. But since that kind of rest is over, it's game time. It's just as, I would say, just as hard to try and stay in shape and try to work as hard as you can, because especially going into a new program, I want to make the biggest impact that I can as quickly as I can. So making sure that I'm continuing to hit, continuing to field, continuing to do stuff that, got me where I am in the first place. But yes, obviously getting that family time. I mean, we're making a trip down to Missouri to see some of my family this weekend, and getting as much as that in and soaking all of that up before I have to leave in August.
Absolutely. Payton, I joked with, I think Taylor Pandel originally, and I said she was out in Tennessee for a while, and I talked to her after one of the interviews we did, and I said, Taylor, you used a couple y'alls, like, and now she's at Texas, so she was probably yelling, or Texas Tech, excuse me. So she's yelling a little more. I said to Kendra, you're going to Oklahoma. How's your y'all or your accent? I got to ask you the same thing. Like, you're going to Texas. Am I going to talk to you next year? And are you yee-hawing and yelling all over the place? Are you ready for the South?
To be fair, I've had a little bit of y'all already. Both my parents grew up in Missouri, and my mom lived in Texas for 17 years, and my dad lived there for a couple years as well. So it's kind of already been slipped into my vocabulary, and the correct pronunciation. Y'all is just one, and all y'all is everybody.
Oh.
So knowing how to correctly use it and everything like that. They joked around with me when I went down there, but
I'm learning. I didn't know that.
Yes, it was, it's not just y'all, it's all y'all if you're talking about everybody.
Oh.
But yes, so my parents were the ones to kind of fill me in on that, but they've kind of used it every once in a while. I have family, like I said, I have family that live in very rural Missouri.
Yeah.
So having a little bit of that as well. They have a little bit of the y'all, they have a little bit of the, whatever you want to call it, redneck, whatever you want to, like you said, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
A little bit of that twang, the country rural twang. So I've gotten a little bit used to it already, and going down to Texas, maybe, I don't really know. I feel like I don't know if I'll be down there long enough. I don't know if a year's enough to pick it all up, but all of my teammates, I think all of them but a couple are from the state of Texas, so I'm sure I'll get plenty of it, and I'll learn plenty of it, and I'll get a little bit of crap for not being completely Southern, but I'm very excited and kind of interested to see that as well, and interested to see my mom back in that habitat. Like I said, she lived there for 17 years, so I'm excited to see if she's going to pick up any of the y'alls and all of that. But yeah,
I love I feel like the hand gesture has to go with it too. All y'all, they have to put your head.
All y'all.
There you go. I think it all has to go together as one. I asked Kendra, I got to ask you, do you go back and you look at what you guys accomplished at Rockridge and the state championships and all this success? You're not old. I'm super old. You guys aren't yet, but during it, you don't really, I don't know if you enjoy it as much as you maybe realize, because it does go quickly and you're continuing to play games. And do you sit back every once in a while and reminisce? And when I say reminisce, it's not like it's that long ago. So again, it's not like it's 10, 20 years ago, but looking back on those Rockridge days and the successes that you had, how fun is that to do now? Maybe a few years removed from it.
No, it's awesome. And, I still stay in touch with a bunch of the girls from those teams, even the teams where I was a sophomore and they were seniors. I still stay in touch with them, and getting the chance to talk with them and, look back and see, what we did was not normal. What we did was not something that everybody gets to experience. And, I talked about it with my head coach, it's so weird, and other coaches too as well. There's a lot of these kids that have never experienced the state championship. And I was part of 3 state championship winning teams. Yeah. Not a lot of people can say that. And, it's one of those things that while you're in it, you're like, oh, I'm just playing the game. I'm playing to, I want the state championship just as much as everybody else does, if not more, and working towards that goal together. And it wasn't ever one of those things that, like I said, with all the wins, with the win streak, it was never, oh, we have to win this game. If it was a random game, it was like, you win or you learn. And I think we did a lot of winning, but we also did a lot of learning in those games as well. And kind of adapting off of each other and learning, building a culture and kind of all of that. It is insane to look back and, I get the memories every year around this time, on the state championship field, like pictures from me hitting on the state championship field, pictures of all of that. And, this year was incredibly special because when we made the OVC tournament is also held at the Louisville Slugger Complex.
Oh, yeah.
So stepping on that field and, being like, wow, this is not my first championship on this field, and kind of being able to be like, okay, I can kind of sit back, I can relax, where other girls might have been a little bit more hyped up. I grew up with that experience. I grew up with that winning culture on that field, on working towards those championships. So it's definitely one of those things that I love sitting back and reminiscing. Not very many people can ever say that they went undefeated 2 seasons in a row or only had 1 loss in their entire high school career. So it's definitely one of those things that even 3 years removed, almost 4 years removed, looking back and just reminiscing and, okay, I do miss it a lot. Like, and those times you're like, oh, 3-hour practice. Oh, I got to wake up early. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. Everybody's summer started, but I got to do this. But, now definitely looking back on it, it's bittersweet, and just remembering all of those times with those girls, and remembering all the moments with Coach John and all of the work that you put in to do that. But yeah, as well as all of the success.
We got to be nice to Coach John, so I want to ask you about him real quick. He's the reason I have an Illinois helmet on my set, because he brought that as a gift for the pregame host of the Iowa Hawkeye Radio Network. He's always so nice to me. You mentioned you're close with coaches. Obviously, it started back with Coach John back at Rockridge. He's doing a great job at Augustana. And I know he's somebody that you're probably still, throwing stuff at and bouncing things off of. How has he been? And obviously that foundation that he set with the program, and you young ladies that are continuing to play college softball all over the place, not just you and Kendra, but so many of you guys are continuing to play all over. What did he mean to you guys?
Oh, he meant the world. Part of the reason that I moved up here was making the Heartland Havoc team when I was younger. That was always my dream. They beat me in a state championship when I was 10 years old. And since then I was like, okay, I want to work to be on that team, and kind of getting the opportunity to play for them. And I actually played against him again in Oklahoma City at an All-American kind of tournament, and getting to know him from that, as well as on and making the team, and, having that support from him. I made the joke that I saw him more than I saw my own parents in high school, but it was probably true. I worked for him. I took hitting lessons from him. I was a high school player for him. I was a travel ball player for him. I spent a lot of time with Coach John, and, that relationship definitely never broke, never fell. You get frustrated with each other just spending that much time with each other sometimes, but, it was one of those things that he's just like another dad to me. He was one of those people who reached out as soon as I entered the portal. I'm so sorry that this happened. I'm so sorry your coach left. If you need anything, let me know. And he texted me a couple different times. If you need any help, do you want me to reach out to somebody? Do you need any help here? Do you need any help there? Just knowing that you still have that support, even if you are a couple years removed and you haven't been as close the past couple years, just knowing, they're always there to support you and they're always there to help. But yeah, he was definitely more of a father figure for me. I don't know about everybody else. I can't speak on everybody else's behalf, but, the support and love that he gave me over the 5-6 years that I played for him is unlike any other. And, knowing that, like I said, one of my old teammates from the Havoc just got married, and seeing him at the wedding, he's going to be at a lot more weddings for us. Knowing that, he cared and loved for all of us in the same way. And, no matter who it was, I think it definitely spoke volumes. In high school, when we won state championships, he took the time to talk about every single individual person. It didn't matter if they were a starter. It didn't matter if they came off the bench as a pinch hitter. It doesn't matter if they only were there to cheer. If they never came on the field, they never did anything. He always had something to say about them. So knowing that, he did care for people, and he did care for his players, and he loved them, just as people, not just as players as well. But yeah, I think definitely the bond with Coach John was one of those things that, not a lot of people get to have, like I said, in their career. You don't have people who kind of stick their arm out for you and care for you in that way. I was definitely blessed to have Coach John and travel ball in high school and everything else.
All right, Payton, before we let you go, we got to do some dumb questions. I probably asked you some of them last year, so they may be repeats, they may not be, and that's fine. If you could play a different sport at Texas State, you get to be a Division I athlete, but not softball. Softball doesn't exist. What are you playing and why?
So at Texas State specifically, they actually just started their gymnastics program. It's the first Division I gymnastics program in the state of Texas, and they have two of the biggest gymnastics output centers, literally in Texas. So I think getting the chance to do that and be around talent like that would be awesome. Going outside, I think my answer last year wasn't directly towards Texas State, but ice hockey. If I could play any sport anytime, it would be ice hockey. I grew up with the love of hockey, and my dad is a Dallas Stars fan. I grew up a Dallas Stars fan.
Okay.
So only being 3.5 hours from Dallas now, I'm like, hey, so you going to come down and watch a Stars game with me? Are you going to come? We're going to go see Stars play at home. I've never seen them play at home.
There you go.
But I kind of teased him a little bit there. But yeah, I would be ice hockey through and through. I love it. Their athleticism is insane. Yeah.
I don't think you're going to need to have too much to help convince him to get down to come visit you. But the hockey is always the cherry on top, if you will. Now that you're back home in the Quad Cities for the summer, I asked Kendra too, what's the places that I know you both mentioned we got to stay in shape, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I don't have to. I'm a 46-year-old fat guy. I get to go wherever. Where are the places that you have to sneak in and take advantage of food-wise when you come back to the Quad Cities?
Oh, so my family, we are known as huge foodies. Love food, no matter where it is. I would say my number one is California burrito. I love California burrito. I am a sucker for Mexican food. So is my mom. They actually know our names. They recognize us when we walk in now. So it's pretty regular occurrence that me and her go there. Also, Lopez. I love Lopez.
Okay.
Can't go too long without going there. We hopped off our flight from my visit at Texas State on Saturday. It was like 6:30. My dad was like, "Do you want Lopez?" So that's what we did when we came back.
I love it.
I'm trying to think what else. I would say those are my top two above everything else, but trying the different places around town. I mean, we're always looking for new places to go.
I'm going to send you some Mexican restaurants. You've probably been to them, but I'm trying to think. There's one, Bortes Carrillos is in downtown Davenport. I'll let you know where it's at. It's fantastic food. And then there's one, it's El Campita. It's out.
I think I recommended you that last year.
Yes.
That was so. Jensen Whiteman and I go there all the time. And his family goes there. They found that restaurant. It's
by
all
the
them.
By the Casey's off of over in Iowa. It's delicious.
Yeah, by Bluegrass.
Yes.
But yes, it is my favorite Mexican restaurant. I haven't been there in a little while. I need to sneak over there before I end up leaving. But no, that was my favorite Mexican restaurant.
I think you did recommend it to me, and you were right. Yes. So thank you. I guess before I let you go, thank you. Last one. We'll do that. I think we did it last year, but if you could have dinner with anybody, if you could go to Lopez with anybody, and you can't say your family, who would it be and why?
There's so many legends of the game softball wise. It was awesome. I actually joked around with my parents. I had people like Kat Osterman is friends with my old head coach at Western, who's my assistant coach. Like, she commented on my Instagram post, and I was like starstruck. Like, it was insane. But I would probably definitely have to say somebody from, my top favorite softball players. Kat was an amazing pitcher. My coaches at Texas State are now coaching one of the AUSL teams. Rachel Garcia, getting to see Rachel Garcia on the mound and getting up to bat. That would be awesome to go have dinner with her, just pick her brain a little bit. Jocelyn Allo, getting the chance to talk to a hitter, like a true on hitter, and just see, what is your approach? What is this? What is that? That would be awesome as well. But I don't know. There's so many people that I could say. I'm also a little bit of a marine biology buff, so getting the chance to talk to somebody who's on the high end of that, and getting to talk to somebody who's deep into ocean research, and getting the chance to talk to somebody like that would be awesome. I don't even know.
I love how I asked you who you would like to have dinner with, and you just had the Last Supper because you had 5-10 people there. All y'all, right?
Yes, all of them, all y'all.
I love it. Payton, have a great senior season. Maybe another season after that, depending on how weird and crazy college sports gets. You never know what to expect with college sports until it gets here. Best of luck. When you're done, if you need something to do, come co-host the show with me every day, because this would be fun. I think you have a gift for this. So great job. Enjoy hitting today, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. That is Payton Brown, former Rockridge standout, heading down to Texas State with all y'all. I think that's how you got to do the hand motion with it too. I just watched myself do it in the monitor, and I should never do that ever again. So we got more to get to. I'll be watching OTA on a Thursday. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. It's a busy time of year when it comes to sports with the NBA draft just getting done. We just got done talking with former Western Illinois standout Payton Brown, who's going to Texas A&M. High school football starts before you know it, and it's always fun talking sports on the Illinois side of the river when it comes to my good friend Chris Duerr from Muddy River Sports. Thank you for doing this, my man. How are you?
I am fantastic. Hard to believe summer just started and summer may be over thanks to the new IHSA football schedule before we even blink here. So it's a strange time of year.
It's weird because I had Mike Morrissey on earlier this week, and I said I always looked at like the 4th of July as like halfway point, and they're already they're just getting done with some stuff, and they get a dead week coming up. I think next week is the IHSA dead week, and then they're off and running. I also joked with him that they could clinch a playoff spot by the end of August because week 1 is August 21st, week 2 is August 28th. He had not thought about that, but we'll talk a little football here in a second because it goes fast. But I want to start with the Fighting Illini. We talked with Ken Prince yesterday here on the show. Just this week to see Keaton Wagler, a guy that story is well documented, but for him to be the 5th pick in the draft to the LA Clippers, your thoughts of watching what that story was come to fruition earlier this week?
So we had a chance to actually see Keaton here in Quincy for the big Quincy shootout before he truly blew up. And, Brad Underwood was in town, and, that's Matt Shuckman's favorite event of the entire year. And he literally stays in the same seat for 2.5 days to cover that event. And at the time, I think we thought Keaton Wagler, you could clearly see there was a future and a path. Was it top 5 in the NBA at that time? Absolutely not. I found it really interesting this week, though. There's a great clip making its way around social media from Lawrence Frank talking about all the paces that they put all of their prospects in this phenomenal point guard draft through. And the fact that at every level that Keaton Wagler had passed, tests with, the psychiatric side of things with the organization, with everybody that they came through, that they come in. And when you're looking at an NBA draft prospect, you try not to make any preconceived notions and you put them through every pace. Yeah, it's the workout, but it's the way they interact with people. It's, what you see when you ask them a certain off basketball question. And man, it sounds like this rigorous process, that Keaton clearly must have aced. And if you talk to Keaton, if you see Keaton talk, it's pretty clear he is a very bright and sharp mind on top of everything else that goes into his basketball. And, look, I'm a long-suffering, long-time Sacramento Kings fan. On my board, Keaton Wagler was the guy that I wanted. I thought the connective ability that he had above the circles was as good as I've ever seen in a point guard prospect. We all talk about point guards, putting rim pressure on, their ability to shoot, all those different things. But I think if you can think the game at that level, like a chessboard, and no, he's not the most athletic kid in the world. No, he's not the most physical kid in the world now. But, you can see that frame putting on more weight. You can see the way he thinks the game. You can see the shooting translating. And I know he got a lot of, Tyrese Halliburton type comparisons. His jump shot's better than Tyrese's was because I had to sit there and watch Halliburton struggle to kind of slingshot that three. He was good at it, but it's still to this day pretty ugly. So, it makes a lot of sense now after the season that Keaton had and the way he helped elevate the Illini. I think as much of that was mental as anything else. And that's kind of what I love about the fit and why I thought of the 4 elite point guards that were on the board, he's a guy that has the best chance. He may struggle a little bit the most with the physicality right out of the gate because it is a physical league, but he's also the biggest of those guys. And clearly he's got the work ethic to put on the weight and to become a different level, guy physically when he does that. I think his future is just insanely bright. And that's, as much as it pains me to praise anything LA based as a Sacramento guy, I thought they got the right guy, the Clippers, in this particular case.
What does it do for Illinois basketball? Because, and it's not like, I think, and of course, being the Iowa, Illinois area here, I think it was more important maybe for Iowa because they didn't have they didn't go to the Final Four, and then they don't have the past success in the draft maybe that besides the Murrays. But for Illinois, it's important. It's become a national brand. And now what is this? How many years in a row where they've had a first round pick? It goes, you have Terrence Shannon in the league. You have KJ in the league. You have, I'm missing the young man, Will. Help me. I can't think. I'm drawing a blank, but he plays out east for the Wizards. And then, of course, now Keaton Wagler. It's become like Brad Underwood puts talented players into the NBA. He's there. Their entire staff is there. It just adds to the brand of what Illinois basketball is right now. And I don't know if Illinois fans realize they have a national powerhouse right now. They're living, you'll talk about remember the good old days? I think the good old days may be going on right now in Champaign for basketball.
I think that's entirely right. And I think things got better with Dusty May moving on, obviously, to create some opportunity where, that's going to open some things up, I think, for the Illini as well. I don't know that the Illini are done with this particular draft either. I know, Kylan Boswell was out in Sacramento and worked out. He's a guy being considered for maybe a two-way contract or a summer league appearance. Love the intelligence of that young man. Man, you talk about a guy who gets it at every level. Got a chance to watch his post-workout interview in Sacramento and, guy originally from Champaign, but, goes to the West Coast and then comes back in his hometown and shines out the way he did after transferring back in. There's a guy who you watch his game and it kind of translates. So I think the Illini are, one of those luxury plate names in college basketball right now, if you are an NBA scout. And I think that's only going to grow next year. Everybody wants to talk about David, and I think there's a chance that he translates next year. But the guy that I love, and I think I said this to you last time, is Quentin Coleman. We saw him coming off the performance at the under-19. He's got the biggest shoes to fill on the team, obviously, coming in for Wagler. He's a very different player. He reminds me, having seen him play, of a new modern version of Fat Lever, the fact that he rebounds so well for the position at that level. He's not as skinny as Fat was in his heyday. He's a lot more physical player, but he can do it all. And our good friend Matt Shuckman shares a friendship with Jay Blossom, his coach at Principia down in the St. Louis area. Jay was nice enough to come up and introduce himself. I was there at a girls game, which Principia was just as good on the girls side as they were on the boys side this year, and got a chance to talk to him. And I didn't ask a lot of Jay, but we all kind of knew who Quentin Coleman was, and I just made the comment, "Hey, you guys are certainly fun to watch." And he went, "He's going to be awfully special." He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't, downplay it or, "Oh, shucks it." He just said he's going to be pretty special. And if you follow Jay on social media, and I suggest you do if you're an Illini fan, he said it during the under-19s. He's pretty proud of the way this kid is translated instantly. And it would not surprise me. I'm somebody who has to, because my NBA team stinks every year. I have already looked at a dozen 2027 mock drafts, and Quentin's name isn't on there yet. but I think it's going to be top 5 when it's all said and done, and Illini fans are really going to love the way he fits right into that dynamic. Obviously, it's a translation and a transition, but there's a kid who is 5-star for a reason, and it's not going to take long for people to see it. And I don't think, vis-a-vis Keaton Wagler, I don't think anybody has any doubts about the translatability right on. He's not going to surprise anybody coming, into that program.
Absolutely. Chris Stewart joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo, and you're exactly right. I think it's become a thing now. You just mentioned they have the options of who will be the next draft pick from Illinois, because you look at next year and the Avicic twins are going to translate somehow, some way into that league when you're 7'2" and you can shoot the basketball from deep. Like, you're going to eventually translate to the next level. So it's good times in Illinois. It kind of under the radar a little bit this week that I wanted to talk to you about was the move of the Girls Valley Conference tournament. It's been here in the Quad Cities. It's been different places. It's going to go to St. Louis. Arch Madness for the men is well documented and has a great history. Your thoughts on the women joining the men when it comes to Arch Madness in St. Louis?
I don't envy Jeff Jackson at all, your MVC commissioner, because the world is changing in college basketball, obviously, and there is such nostalgia, such great feeling about Arch Madness over the years. And as we know, human beings hate change of any kind. And anytime you start messing with something that is sacred to people, you're going to get blowback. And I think a lot of this is probably based on the fact that they want to centralize things, obviously, which makes some sense. There's been some talk about, the easy road for the top of the conference with the buys all the way to the semifinals. Okay. Here's the deal. I have some mid-major myopia because, the only Division I program I cover on a regular basis is Western Illinois up here in Macomb, and no complaints because it's phenomenal. It's a great culture. We love it. But if you follow mid-major basketball, you see the world differently than the rest of the world sees it. And I think with Jeff Jackson in this particular case, you're trying to position your league for the best and most possible visibility on both the men's and women's side. And bringing the tournament to St. Louis ups the eyeballs, whether it's popular or not. Extending it to a week, increases the eyeballs. You're putting it in a major media population center where you're going to get the St. Louis stations doing stories, even if they don't want to, about, the women's side of the bracket as well. So there's a lot that goes into that, Matt, that I think goes beyond the fans' simple viewpoint of the basketball itself. Also, let's face it, the NCAA world at the men's level is changing as well. We're inviting 8 more teams to the NCAA tournament, which I hate, but that's just me. But I think a lot of the mid-major conferences are thinking, hey, this is our invitation, and our chance to get more mid-major teams into the bracket. I think the real reality of that is we've expanded because a lot of the brand name basketball teams that are bad for a year, or the ones like, let's take Rutgers a couple of years ago when they had Ace Bailey and they had, Dylan Harper at the same time, and they were terrible. Yeah. There's a lot of NBA heads who will just watch the NCAA tournament because there are pros involved. So there's going to be a lot of jockeying back and forth for those 8 spots. And I think to his credit, to some degree, Jeff Jackson on the men's side is trying to get ahead of that as well. I don't know if it works or not. I am just dying to see how this plays out with Arch Madness on all fronts. But again, the responses you've seen, not making that man the most popular man in the world.
And I think you have to think outside the box. And we've had it here, the Quad Cities. We enjoyed it. It was well supported here, and I understand all of that. But it goes back to, and we'll talk about maybe Alabama football here in a second, but in situations like this, when decisions are being made, you have to still take care of number one first. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to he's not worried about college basketball as a whole or women's basketball or certain schools. He's doing what's best in his mind for his brand and his conference, and we'll see if it works. I don't hate the idea, and I think it brings more eyeballs to make it an entire week celebration of what the Valley is in St. Louis, and set up shop there and have fans stay for the week or stay for the end of one, beginning of the other. Hey, maybe we're going to come in early and check out the end of the women's before everything goes on. So it could be a great time.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, there's absolutely a lot of that cross-pollination that has worked over the years. So I mean, if you don't change and adapt, you die. So I think to their credit, at least they're pushing it. It may be a huge disaster, and I'm not going to lose my job over it, so it's easy for me to say. But I think the optics of trying to change the times are at some level.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk a little high school football before we let you get out of here. We'll do two, because I know you've kind of been, it's coming fast. So we're going to talk about on the field in a second and what Quincy looks like and those kind of things. But obviously we've talked about it for the last 3 weeks, and we continue to talk about it throughout probably until the season starts and beyond. But the big question in the Western Big Six is my alma mater, Alleman not having a varsity football team. We talked with Greg Armstrong about it when it broke. We talked with Matt Schuckman about it. I don't think Greg and I fixed anything or solved anything. I don't think me and Schuck did either. But I think both conversations were open, honest, and fair, and just kind of getting it out there of what it is and how you fix it. Your thoughts? We talked with Mike Morrissey and got that angle this week as well. And I totally understand the frustration on both sides. And I especially understand it from the coaches that are in the conference. I will reiterate that Alleman asked to get out of the conference in January for football only. I'll also reiterate that doesn't quickly solve things for the rest of the Western Big Six, because 7 teams is uneven and you don't have that universal week of an extra non-conference game. So there's a lot of factors to it. So Chris Duerr, I ask you, please fix the problem of the Western Big Six right now. I'll give you 30 seconds. Go. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Your
great.
thoughts.
Thanks. You're talking to the dumb guy and giving him a time limit. This is fantastic. I don't know. I don't know how much of my conversation was on or off the record with Rick Little when we talked about this, but I'll just say I was surprised there was as much sympathy or empathy from this side of things as there was in this particular case for Alleman. Based on some of what you've established at this point, I think everybody gets it. And the 30-second answer to this is there is no easy fix. And I don't know what you do at this particular point, because it's so freaking late in the game at this point. There's no easy fix. So I know everybody's looking to try to gird their own best interests here. Beyond that, I don't have an answer. It takes far more intelligence. Maybe there's a Mensa member out there of our media. I doubt it.
Yeah.
It's
funny because I said it earlier too, because and Mike Morrissey mentioned on the show, like, they weren't surprised. They've been working on this as if this was probably going to happen. So, and I use a really bad analogy that, if your wife comes up to you in January and says, hey, they want out of the marriage, and you say, no, I don't get out of the marriage. And then several months later, they want out of the marriage and it's not work out. You can't be surprised it didn't work out. So I think that's the point of just like, I think they saw it coming. My marriage is fine. I should put that out there just in case, just so no rumors starting. I don't know why she hates me, but I don't know why she puts up with me, but, I don't think it was a surprise by any stretch that happened and that it went down. I think it's kind of fixing it for the future. And I know there's people on the non-Alleman side that say, like, get out of the Western Big Six. And I think people on the Alleman side saying, we want out of the Western Big Six, and there's no place. I mean, it's such a tough catch-22, because they both would like the same thing, but there's no easy answer on where Alleman goes and plays, and you can't get out of one conference and have no conference to go to. One thing I know that's ultimately focused on is football, and I get it. It's a huge thing, and we understand that. But, like, you have to think of the other athletes in the building, and saying football is all that matters discredits a really good girls soccer team, a really good boys soccer team, a really good tennis team, a really, those are other programs, a softball team that went 10-4 in the conference, still need to be thought about as well. I don't know what the answer is. You kind of mentioned it a little bit, and I've talked to, I think Coach Little's the only coach I probably haven't talked to about it, but I think maybe 4 years ago when it happened the first time, I'm thinking about 4, like, I think the numbers game made it so it's more understanding. Hey, the enrollment's down to 250. It's what it is. Yes. The enrollment's to 310. And I feel like as an Alleman guy, I feel like 60 people in a building, obviously not all boys, but 60 more people should have it so that you should be in a better situation now than you were 4 years ago. So I know that it's something we could talk about all day.
You also had the struggles, which is set backwards.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, football is the hood ornament on the Bentley for the conference, but by the same token, you can't sacrifice everything for football. And if you're Alleman, you can't sacrifice everything that you're invested in for somebody else's football at this particular point.
Yep.
So again, I think trying to remedy this situation in the moment is one issue and a really hard one. Down the road, it feels like the forces are at play that are going to get this thing right.
Yeah.
Hopefully for everybody involved. But for right now, it's a bad beat at this point, and I don't know what you do.
And I've told a lot of people, you're trying to rebuild a football program in a time, and every football coach will tell you this, where numbers in high school football are going down. So it's like you're trying to rebuild a program at a time where it's hard to, I mean, you have programs everywhere. Not that they're struggling for numbers as much as Alleman, but you saw Riverdale take some time off. You saw Sherrard miss a game last year and it happens all over the place.
The growth of 8-man football in 3 different states now.
Yeah. It's definitely, and oh gosh, we could go on with specialization of sports and kids that used to be multi-sport athletes playing everything or playing quote unquote their sport. What's your sport? Yes. Well, maybe all of them are your sports, and then you go to college and become dorks that talk about sports like you and me, Chris. That's actually exactly a possibility. Quincy football, you've stopped in. It wasn't the year that they were used to the prior several years. But I know they're excited about what they have and what they're building. I think Coach Little does a fantastic job. And it's quicker than you'd think. We're sitting here on June 25th or whatever today is. I don't know. I get my days. Yeah. 25th. And it's here before you know it. Your thoughts on Quincy, what you know, what you've seen so far?
Sure. I think we are starting the next Little era at quarterback with Bryson, who's brother Braden, statistically one of the top 5 quarterbacks all time in the state of Illinois, based on the passing numbers he put up. I didn't get a chance to watch Bryson much last year as a youngster, as a freshman, because he wasn't part of the equation. You put eyes on him because he's Braden Little's little brother at that point. If you're smart, you see a little bit. He looks different in stature. He moves the ball really well. We went down to do a story basically on the Little family. Brown County and Quincy High School had a 7-on-7 together. So you got Tom Little coaching against Rick Little. You've got the Little cousins playing against each other, which was super fun, which was great. First time watching Bryson, and he can really sling it. I think he's made significant progress in his body. You guys at the other end of the Quad City caught the business end of Quincy High having a generational group of wide receivers. And that was as much part of Braden's success as anything else. They don't look like that at wide receiver anymore. It's a bunch of little guys, slot receivers everywhere that they're kind of darting over the field, So it's going to be a very different look offensively, but I think for what they do, they're still going to get guys in space and they're going to try to beat you. And this is part of what Rick Little and his outstanding offensive coordinator, Brand Luton, have done for the last couple of years, is find a way to take the pieces they're given and use them. So it may be a lot of small darting offense this year. They're not huge at offensive line either at this particular point, but they're going to try to make advantage of spatial, advantages in their play. So it'll be that. And then I didn't get to see a whole lot because it's 7-on-7 and obviously you can't read a lot, but they're introducing their 3rd defensive coordinator in 3 years. So I don't know how that side of the ball is going to look, but I think that the optimism is pretty high. Got some really good kids in the program. I think they like their linebacking core. I think they are ready to ride with Bryson in the next 3 years at quarterback. Sorry, Quad Cities, you're going to have to deal with another little kid at the helm of the Blue Devil offense. And again, I think it'll make things incredibly competitive.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned. I was just going to say that for the Moline, UT, Sterling, everyone, Rock Island people, Geneseo listening to this podcast and this show, you've been forewarned. There's another Little on its way. And while it was awesome to watch. He drove opposing pain. It's crazy in a great way because it's a talented young man. And if the little brother's anything like it, a talented kid as well. Last but not least, what are you doing? What are you doing August 9th?
Oh, man. Well, let's see here.
You know where I'm going, don't you? You know where I'm going, don't you?
Where are you going?
So we have the View from the West 2nd annual kickoff show, which Shuck has mentioned he's going to try to make his way up. I would love to somehow get Chris Duerr in the house for a fun night.
I try not to diminish Shuck's considerable shadow anywhere I can be. I'm just happy to be support staff setting him up. Yes, August the 9th. I totally forgot. Sorry.
You need to join us. So it's out there. The invitation is there. Get your butt up here.
That's very
Get your butt up here if you can.
We'll see.
We'll keep peer pressuring you. See if we can get you up here as well. Hey, the Shuck and the truck might be coming. Like, that's what I'm excited about. Greg's on cloud 9. Shuck and the truck.
Oh, Shuck's the best, and you get Shuck on the truck, it's like a different level. So it's like when Bobby Hurley was faster with a basketball in his hands than he was just running sprints. 100%. Shuck has a different superpower on the truck.
He becomes super Shuck when he gets on the truck. Okay, so this is Duerr's third time on the show. Shuck is still at 1, so I need to make amends for that because he was cranky. I don't know. We'll make amends for it. So, hey, Chris, enjoy.
I love him. He's often cranky.
No, I'm not saying a word. He's a delight. Hey, the Owlman people love him. Just we'll leave it at that. With his last article, the Owlman people love him. Can't get enough Shuck. So, hey, get out of here. Enjoy your Thursday. Thanks for taking the time. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks, my friend.
Thanks as always, my man. Enjoy your summer.
Awesome. That is Chris Duerr, Muddy River Sports. Him, Shuck, everyone does a great job down in the Quincy area. And great to catch up, get his insight on Illinois. I want to talk about the Valley because we didn't get a chance to talk about it earlier this week. And then, of course, high school football is going to be here before you know it. The View from the West / OTA kickoff party. The Other Bar in Moline on August 9th. Mark your calendars. Come join us for a live show down there. We had a blast last year, and we can't wait to do it again this year as well. We get more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Thursday. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday in the Quad Cities. Thursday, June 25th. It's been a fun show and a loaded show, to say the least. One of the longer shows of the week, which we love to see here on OTA, especially during the summer. We kick things off with Jake Brend talking about the local iHeart layoffs in both Des Moines and the Quad Cities, but then mainly talked a lot about the Cyclones. Joshua Jefferson heading to Brooklyn, Taman Lipsey heading to Indiana, and an opportunity with the Pacers, and alcohol in Ames as well. We talked a little bit about the decision to allow alcohol at the Hilton Coliseum and to do the same at Jack Trice Stadium as well. So great to catch up with Jake Brend, a new look from him with the shaved bald head. It was an he threw me for a loop when he popped up on the camera, I'll tell you that. But always appreciate Jake and his insight and information. We also chatted with former Western Illinois softball standout, former OVC player of the year, and now Texas State softball standout, Payton Brown. former Rockridge standout as well, making the move from Macomb down to Texas to to play for Texas State in the Pac-12 next year. So great conversation with Payton. Reminisced a little bit about the Rockridge years and the state championships, 3 of them in her trophy case, if you will. So a lot of fun with her. If you missed that, go back and check that out. And then, of course, catching up with a good friend, Chris Duerr, talking Western Big Six football, the Alleman situation, Quincy, another little quarterback at Quincy. Get ready, Western Big Six, and, of course, much, much more. Some Illini talk as well. So if you missed anything, scroll back, check it out. If you missed anything throughout the week, go check it out. It's been a fun week here on Off the Air. Full shows. Take a chance tomorrow, this evening, throughout the weekend to go catch up if you missed any. No show tomorrow. No new show coming up on Friday. I'll be heading to Peoria to watch a couple of my sons play baseball this weekend. So no show tomorrow. We'll be back next Monday with a John Deere Classic preview show. And then, of course, the John Deere Classic is officially here next week. We'll be doing shows Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from our new home out at the John Deere Classic. Not new home, our familiar home, I guess, because we did it last year. I'm out at the Stone House, just off of 2, and Andrew Lehman's office. So many times we have Andrew here on the show, and he's actually been out to the studio here that he is gracious enough to allow us to invade. And a new face this year as well. My old buddy Scott Wheezy, helping me out at the course as well. We'll get him finally on the show. If Wheezy's listening, finally on the show coming up next week as well, which I cannot wait for. So some familiar faces. Celia Palermo will be back in town. We're excited to catch up with her. Of course, Andrew and Michaela out at the golf course, and so many more along the way as well. So excited about the John Deere Classic. We'll start talking all about it, starting with our John Deere Classic preview show coming up on Monday. Thanks again to our guests. Thanks again to our viewers and you guys for supporting the show. Thank you to our sponsors, most importantly, for allowing us to do this goofy little show every single weekday at 10 a.m. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here for John Deere Classic Week next week right here on OTA. Have a great weekend, Quad Cities.